Alright, hello everyone, welcome back to Crypto Warehouse. Welcome back to the chart stream. Obviously, you guys know, my name's Brogan. Today, we're going to go through the charts, nice and slowly. And today, actually I should mention, I just remembered, we have a big change. I'm back on the light mode. Now, some of you might be rejoicing, some of you might be, just fell to your knees and just screamed at the clouds. Why is he back to the light mode? Ever since I came back, and I've done this dark mode, it's just not felt the same. It's just not felt like me. So today we've got some cleaner shots. It's not as full up. It's obviously full up of older stuff, so I might need to delete some of it a bit. But importantly, I'm back to it. But I still need to work on the color. I might make it a bit darker. I can already see the boost. I might make it a bit darker in terms of the background. You know what I mean? So yeah, we'll see how it goes. Hello to everybody on YouTube. Obviously, I know I'm not allowed to say that, but I've said it. Hello to everyone on Byte Square. I'm on both streams today, so welcome to the stream. I'm not going to dilly-dally. Let's get into it. Starting the timer. Dark mode. I just don't know what it is. I just can't do it. I prefer dark mode on everything I use, and then it comes to the charts, and there's just something about it. I'm on dark mode on, Chrome. Everything's on dark mode. Discord, anything I do in my life is on dark mode, and then it comes to the charts and it's just not the same. I don't know what it is. I don't know. It's just something different. I just comprehend better. Anyways, looking at the elephant in the room, it's screaming at me. Address me. The elephant in the room, obviously. We can see we've had $1 billion in liquidations in the past 24 hours. We've had a very nice, very big move down, I should say. Now, it's here nor there. We want things to go upwards. We want things to go downwards. I would like to have seen some movement. We're going to talk about it, obviously. We're going to talk about how we did versus where we failed. So we're just gonna go through it. I'm not gonna talk about it. We're just gonna go through it, okay? I'm feeling sensitive today. I'm not gonna talk about the wrong sayings. We should go through it, okay? So $1 billion in liquidations, 940 million in long liquidations. Okay, let's just go to the second calendar. So what do we have? Well, yesterday, today's Thursday, obviously. Yesterday we had interest rate decision and the press conference on Wednesday. The data came out as forecasted, which is good. You expect to be good anyway. Apart from that, in terms of looking forward, producer price index probably doesn't have as much. It's mainly either interest rate or CPI, or payroll data, and we don't have any of that really coming upwards. So pretty good in terms of, or we don't really have anything important. We don't really have much importance coming upwards, in the week anyway. In terms of looking at next week, though, we can see we have some unemployment rate, obviously non-farm payroll, coming up on February the 26th. 2020. I'm reading the wrong numbers. Okay, you know what? I need my drink. I'm feeling the spaghetti coming out. I need to reset. Non-farm payroll on February the 6th. Next week, we have that. That's what I wanted to say. Okay. Going to call market cap, though. We can look at some prices. We're 83,344. Ooh. Oh. Whoa. 6.78% down on the 24-hour. Ethereum, 2,764. 8.2% down, 24-hour. Solana, 115, 8% down on the 24-hour. What do we have going up? Let's see. Syrup, 6% down. Again, we want Syrup to go down, so we've got that to claim. I don't even want to look at Crow anymore. I think I'm binning it off. I don't like it anymore. 8%. I don't care. I've been wrong every time. I don't want to look at it anymore. All right, I can't bother. It's over. All right, I'm not looking at it. What is it good for them? Bitcoin? Exactly. There's just no point. You know what I mean? It is what it is. We're just gonna have to look at just AI points. I forgot about this. I forgot they started introducing AI as with everything in the world as AI. Yeah. Anyways, let's just get to the chart. Okay, let's just get to the chart. Let's just not dilly-dally. So we obviously have today basically opening and absolutely ripping downwards, basically. Obviously, the 24-hour will be rolling, so it would have been 8 p.m. yesterday as well on Wednesday, so that's probably what the 24-hour goes off. What we talked about last, I haven't moved everything over. I had my own charts on the light mode, which I glanced at between last stream and this stream, but not updating what we had on the dark mode. So I have, not new, it's the same sort of charts, I just have it drawn a bit lighter. We had other resistance. What did I say last stream? This is the problem, actually, because I can't remember what I talked about. I think what it mainly was looking at the idea that I wanted to see it go up, or what we could potentially go up because of something on the 4-hour, but ultimately on the daily we had printed past the low, and I wanted it to go upwards towards 93k to see then see retracement to go lower. We haven't done that, as you might clearly tell. We haven't got anywhere near this range, which is okay. Because remember what I always say, we can follow this low all the way down. All it means is we're going to have that retracement higher. That's what I said. Or that's what I remember kind of the idea being, was that the reason I wanted to go to 93k was that I wanted it to see that lower high and go lower. So we didn't see that lower high. We just went lower again, which is fine. It's okay. It's fine. What I was saying on the 4-hour was, okay, we might not be on the 4-hour in terms of the idea that we wanted the confluence being we wanted to go back upwards, to go higher to then go lower. The confluence being we are trying to print above this massive gap we have, which could allow us to or could be a suggestion that we're going higher, if you know what I mean. So you can see, obviously, even though on Monday I was doing charts, even though on Monday I was doing charts on the dark mode, I was still doing charts on my own on light mode. So because I wanted it, you know what I mean? I wanted to do it on light mode because I've missed it. So I drew the same thing I talked about on the stream. We've been drawing these areas. I haven't looked at light mode since before last stream, so I haven't actually looked at most of this price action. So I already had some things drawn out, which was the previous gap, this gap on the 4-hour, was potentially printing for it. Obviously, the last time I looked at it again was before the stream, so again, Monday at about 9 p.m. was when I last looked at it. So we obviously formed these two candles and moved higher, printing past the open of these down close candles. So I drew that area there, and I just drew it across, past this gap. Obviously, from there, we then continue to use it and then go higher, which was the idea. Again, this follows what we talked about last stream, which was if we can print higher than the open, or I should say the low of this candle, the one previous to the massive gap we had, if we can print above that, it then means we are potentially trying to go higher. So we did so. We printed higher, whoop-de-doo. Came past some of these highs, I suppose. Came down again, obviously, to what it just came down. Printed higher at the support, which is good. And then we started to go up pretty rapidly. So this was good. This was exactly what we talked about last stream. Last stream. This is what we talked about. We wanted it to go higher. We looked at the 4-hour, potentially reversing and going higher and starting a move upwards. What we wanted from this was, okay, even though printing above this gap is a good sign, it doesn't mean we're out the woods. What would be out the woods relative to the 4-hour, as if we look at the kind of the trend we had, it would be printing past this high. That would be what it is. Now, we didn't do that. And this is obviously what I talked about on the 4-hour. What I said last stream was, I want it to go to 93 based on the idea that if this is the low, we want to see it higher. Okay? We obviously, the criteria for that on the 4-hour would be printing past what would be now resistance, eventually printing past that high, and then that would lead us into it. Because if we did it on the 4-hour, if we printed past that high and then did another higher low and really started that trend upwards, we would probably be at 93 right now. Or we would have got to 93. I pretty much guarantee it. But obviously, we didn't do that, which is obviously the criteria. It's waiting for the criteria to occur. If it doesn't occur, there you go. So, obviously, also, is this white? I think this white's better. It's not. I had it a lot lighter. I've got it a bit darker. I might make it one tinge darker. Is that too dark? I don't know. I think my comprehension levels are still the same. I think that's better because that's my eyes aren't burning. I don't think your guys' eyes should be burning from that either. I think this is good. I think this is fine. You know what? I'll leave it like this. I'll leave it grey. I think this is better, right? This is okay. Let's go to the daily quickly. Let's see. It's starting to miff me now. Well, not miff me, but it's starting to get. I think that's a tiny bit too dark. I need something in the middle, I think. There. I think that's good. Is that okay? I think so. I'll leave it like this. Anyways, back to the 4 hours. So yeah, I had this drawn. I don't know if I drew this on the dark chart. You see, this is the thing. The difference between me drawing on light chart and dark chart. There's just a comprehension level. I don't know what it is. There's a comprehension level I have on light mode, which I don't feel like I have on the dark mode. Do you know what I mean? There's just something about it. I just don't have the same comprehension, I guess. I don't have the same absorption of what I'm actually seeing. There's just something about it. So anyway, we had this in terms of these down move here. We had it coming into this area below us. I actually barely came into it, but we came into it. Into a gap we had on the way upwards, and then obviously we printed higher. This is a good sign. Obviously we can see from the high of this range, we can see we used it there, but mainly attributing this to the gap. Obviously if we go to the lower time frames, we can see in a bit more detail. Obviously we have some up close candles, so it's a bit different here. We would probably be looking more so at something higher. So we have kind of an up close here, and then obviously we print down below it eventually from there, and then obviously we can see, actually I didn't draw that properly, there we go. We can kind of see, we kind of print through it and then come back up towards around about that midpoint and then come down. We have a bit of resistance. We then reverse it here. And then if we draw this area across, we get that accurate. There we go. We kind of miss it there, to be fair. We only really used this gap. We eventually came into one more time. Obviously from there, we're at high points. We've just come to the weekly resistance, so it doesn't really make much sense that we want to pump higher than that. And then obviously eventually printing through it again. So that was kind of that area, but that's on the 4 hour here, a bit lower down. So we're looking at the main range of the daily here, which is going to be this down close. Obviously I know the technicality is that okay, we form support from this, but since we're in an uptrend, we're looking at this the down close which gets printed through here. So same as we would look at on this high over here, for example. So if we kind of draw this across, and we kind of missed it here, obviously we came to this gap rather than the high end of this area here, but if we like draw this out, for example, we can see it as I was saying anyway, in terms of we formed them from the down close candles all the way upwards, which you can see would be this range, would be this candle here, which obviously you can see we eventually use at that midpoint here, and eventually we print through it and we've come upwards. We've gone a bit higher than this low here. We did see a bit of difficulty at this candle. We printed lower than it, but eventually we printed higher and obviously came upwards to the next point upwards, which is this candle. So these are all points on the way downwards which we're forming as resistance. But deleting this one using this main one here, I drew out, we should probably be doing it here, to be fair, but I drew it on the candle bodies. Instead, we could probably go to the 4 hour and look at it in a bit more detail, which would probably be a bit more accurate. So, for example, it would be something like we have somewhat of a down move here. I mean, there's multiple here. This is the thing. We can use this up close, which gets printed through the open here. We see a bit of difficulty with then print upwards. So you can see if we used this candle here, for example. I'm yapping a bit here. I should probably move on from this, but I'm just showing an example of the same. I did this kind of last year as well. The same area having different areas on the way downwards in terms of if you look at it on daily versus lower time frames, there's kind of overarching or there's overlapping points to use. So for example, we saw on the weekly, when we looked at the last stream, the weekly gap we had and the daily gap were both in the same place pretty much, and it kind of just confirms to us, okay, cool, this is actually a valid area on multiple time frames, which kind of makes sense, if you will. So for example, this being this area here, as we can see, we had difficulty. We then finally printed and reversed it, used it as support and came upwards, and obviously we can see we came through it, printed once more, found difficulty once here, resistance here, and if we zoom it across one more time, we can see we had resistance here, mainly more looking at that daily gap here, but we had resistance here, and obviously we had resistance here, which overlaps where that breaker block is on the daily time frame. So we can see, so that's kind of the zoom in, if you will. So there's like multiple areas. So that's kind of why I drew it there, more looking at the 4 hour here, which is a very pinpoint on this last move we had upwards, coming into about Wednesday when we were doing our stream yesterday, which obviously went quite nicely. Obviously we have some bugs which we're gonna get rid of and get done. Obviously that's with most things, things just happen and bugs, but we got there. Very nice stream for those of you who joined. Thank you obviously for joining. and taking part. And basically, that stream, because again, we didn't really have a topic. It was kind of just us talking and just doing a random quiz. It was more to test if the thing was working and how well it worked. Obviously, it was a good test. Thankfully, it worked majoritively flawlessly, apart from the timestamp issues which we had, which obviously have now been resolved in my current testing, which obviously we're gonna have to do another. We'll have to do another test on another stream, and the stream goes well or it doesn't. We then go back to the drawing board, see what we have to fix. It's a feedback loop. Anyways, yep. The resistance here, used it, came down, whatever. Fine. We didn't hit into where we needed to come to. You know, we had this one, we didn't do it here, fine, we followed to here, we didn't come to it here. I'm just going to trail this. I'm going to trail this, and it's going to be the same thing. I'm still looking at, we can now look at this area again as a reusage. I'm still looking at about probably 93k for that area up here. So we're just going to come down. We're probably, we're getting past some main areas now, which is, this is, a good comment on how strong of a downtrend we're in right now. Again, we did come from a weekly resistance, which I think is more of an important thing to be looking at right now, is the fact that we came into this weekly resistance, wicked past all these highs and didn't print, which is not a very positive sign. Because again, we haven't, if we look at it on the weekly, even though we have come to an area of support, which again, concerningly, we are below the high of the first candle which forms this gap, which again, like I said, maybe 2 streams ago, maybe 3 streams ago, if we can't hold above this, we will reverse it. If we print past 86.58 and we retrace, this is bad. This is bad on the daily because obviously we have the 93k resistance. This is bad on the weekly because this could now be a resistance area. This is just not good signs. And that's where I'll concede my point in terms of this is support. However, if we don't use it as support, because again, we kind of we've held difficult. We had all these kind of highs here. We had these kind of 2 equal highs here. We've come past it. Obviously, come to a weekly resistance, and we have come down. Fine. And as I was saying at the time, I believe I was maybe 3 streams ago as well. I can still see this area as a resistance. However, will it be one which causes us to come lower than the previous low, which we've drawn the range from? And that's kind of what the main comment was for that regard. Obviously, we have support areas. We have this main support area. I did talk about 1 or 2 streams ago, being these candles here on the way downwards and then coming back upwards, which obviously come past this low here, come into obviously the main low being within this gap is the main area, being this whole area of a low, and obviously we come upwards, this being a support area. So we still have something to sit on. The main point was that it was the overlap of this area and this area and that high there. So that's kind of the main point of, okay, this is quite a strong area which we could see support at. But again, we haven't printed. We're doing okay. This current scenario we've had, which has led us down this grizzly path, could be what causes us to go low. I think I recall saying actually on the weekly as well, is we could have that move up towards 90k to fulfill this area and then move down. But that wasn't what I said last stream. So that's what the most important part. It's not what I said 5 streams ago. It's what I said last stream. Anyways, talking about new price action now, I do need to speed myself up. I do need to speed myself up when it comes to Bitcoin anyway. So we came to resistance, fine. I've come lower. I'm still going to consistently be drawing these ranges though, regardless. I'm going to still be doing this. If we come to this low, for example, and we print again, this is going to be strong of a resistance area. Considering all of what we have done on the way down, I do think this will be a strong resistance area. Or this, I would be very surprised if we came into this area and didn't see any watt of resistance. But I mean, to be fair, we've had candles which have had that sort of volume downwards and have allowed us to go back upwards. So it's not a guarantee that we see resistance, but you know what I mean. It's pretty strong. It might be pretty strong. It depends what we do and how we print coming into the next day candle, to be fair. But yeah, we've seen resistance at lower levels. We've seen a resistance at smaller levels. So I think how big of an expansion down we've had, and considering we're already in a downtrend, the main thing I can take away from this candle is the fact that it is a good comment on how strong of a downtrend we are starting to be in right now on the daily, that is. Obviously, this candle probably printing past, or not probably, again, it's not guaranteed, we haven't printed yet, but likely chance of at least printing past some major lows over here, which is obviously a good sign for what we've had on the way downwards, especially regardless of what we've done over here, printing past the last low at 86. This is probably going to happen. Obviously, I'm not saying a guarantee, but the most likely chance, considering how far away we are right now from 86k, printing past this low, continuing this downtrend, which is good. But again, like I said, from the start of the down move to here is what I'm focusing on, and we haven't had that main retracement yet for an even bigger move. So I'm still going to be drawing it, and I'm still going to be expecting. I'm still going to be not expecting, but I'm still going to be looking at this range from the high to the low all the way down. But again, like I said, and like we've said with some of the weekly areas, even though on the weekly time frame we've had a high, we are doing it high, we are going higher. We still can't look at a gap on the weekly and say, okay, cool, this guaranteed isn't going to be resistance area. You can't just say that. It's not a guarantee that we're just going to go straight back upwards to 130k. That was never going to happen. There's still chances for these areas to be resistance, and it still be okay to use these areas of resistance and still go upwards, basically. So same story on the daily, being okay. We have resistance areas. The what I would want to watch for is to go above the 0.5. If we don't do that, I'm going to follow the low downwards until we stop and eventually do that. Do you know what I mean? So that's really where I'm sitting at. So that's what we were saying last stream as well, being we have this area of resistance, we have this potential retracement back to 93k. If we saw that retracement to 93k, I would be happy to say, okay, cool, go lower. We didn't do that, fine. And now we can talk about what we're doing in the future. So what I'll say is for Bitcoin, before I move on to Ethereum and Solana, is where we're going to next, basically, and what we're kind of doing now, or what I could expect to happen from this massive move we've had, which is going to be probably printing past this low, 84.5, printing past this low, seeing a retracement into this absolute just behemoth of an area. We're going to see somewhat of resistance here. That's kind of a given. And again, I think I did this last time as well on last stream, is instead of having it from the max high being the most recent high, which started the downtrend, being printing past this low, which was this, which again, we can see from there, we have had these retracements on the way downwards. So we could also probably look at it on the 4 hour in terms of the respective 4 hour range, being looking at these highs, and just looking at these ranges, regardless of what we have on the daily, just looking at these ranges we have. So I will do so now, because this is valid. Again, anything above here, as long as it doesn't print past that high and it stays above that midpoint, it's all fair game. So we have that here. Obviously, looking at the previous resistance being far back from about the 10th of January, that massive resistance area on the daily we had, coming to that area at about 90,474-ish, and then obviously coming down from there. So I'll just draw the same range here. If we are to expect resistance, and continue downwards, what do we have? We've got a few things which we had on the way upwards, which we formed. Obviously, we had this gap here, which we printed past and used as support and came upwards. We've now printed through that, so we can expect the same thing there. We can expect it to be resistance again, which obviously sits overlapping with this range here. We have this down move. Move upwards, down move again, so we kind of have this overlapping area at about 87.5 here for this area. We obviously have these two candles here at about 88k, which we have used as support. Use it support again once more time here. We kind of came down into it, had an up close candle to try and come back upwards. Eventually had the massive rip off down here at about 1 p.m. whatever, which obviously prints past all of this. So we have that area as well at about 87. To about 87.6 or 87.8 to 87.6. So we have some resistance. So expecting what we have on the 4 hour, which if we ignore what we have on the daily range, looking at each and every range we have on the way downwards for the 4 hour, looking to this next one, obviously we have sufficiently printed past that lower 86k. We would expect it to have that retracement and potentially continue lower. I think for this, again, this is just a translation of what we have on the daily. The daily is kind of this one long line downwards, but on the 4 hour it's a bit more of a nuanced move downwards, as we can see with some of these smaller highs and lows on the way downwards. So this will continue to happen until we hit that point where we stop going down. What could that be? That could be the print past a major daily low, which could be this 84k. So I'm looking at a retracement at any level between this 88k area around about 88k area, about the midpoint of this range, which we had on the 4 hour. We have that resistance at 87.8, like I said, 87.6. We have a lot of resistance there, which I could expect to come back to for Bitcoin. I think I still, regardless of what we have on the 4 hour, I still want this retracement back upwards towards somewhat of a 90k area, or now as anyway a 90k area, or 91k area, I should say, for this previous gap. But all in all, I still want to wait. I still want to wait and watch because we have this weekly close, and I think for a big move to happen, if we look relative to the weekly, it would be. I think this weekly close candle is going to be very important. Obviously, we've had weekly candles. We've had, 15th of December weekly. It didn't really matter. We did come down, so it did matter in the moment. But we have some moments like, let's say this 29th of December one. This one didn't really matter. We were coming upwards. We weren't really doing much. It doesn't matter. Obviously, each candle matters, obviously. But I think, for me, this candle we are at right now, 3 days and 5 hours to close it, is very important. Do we see a print lower than 86,390? And if we use that as resistance coming upwards, let's say about 90k, this area about a midpoint, let's say 90,500. This kind of coincides with a lot of areas. We have that 91k area on the daily. We have potentially now resistance on the weekly. It wouldn't be a very good sign. You know what I mean? It wouldn't be a good sign. Does it mean we are guaranteed to go past 74.4? And obviously I know a lot of people think that. Does it mean a guarantee below 74.4 and continue downwards and lower? No, it doesn't. But it's still not a good sign for us to want to go back upwards again. You know what I mean? So that's kind of what I'm thinking for Bitcoin. I know that was a lot of words. It might not be very clear, but I'll give a overarching, what's the word, package for you. All right, I'll weekly print past 86.5, bad thing, 90,500. Daily printing past 84.5, bad thing, looking towards at least not. Let me draw it again. Actually, to be fair, looking at least above 90,500, same as we have on the weekly. 4 hour, already printing past lows, expecting retracing at least above 87k. Bad thing, continue to go downwards. Is my kind of package of analysis, I suppose. We do have these lines. I probably should not ignore. Actually, we've had this area. This is actually an equilibrium on the multitude of lines I used to have, which I have reinvigorated with myself, but I don't want to show them on the screen because they're messy. But I thought I would draw the range out just to see, of interest. We can see obviously us staying in this area, coming up as one more time, and then coming down again towards the lower end of it, which is where this line is. We have one line lower, which is 79.6 as well, which is also just a bit below this low here, which is obviously a good thing for a way upwards. So we do have some support on the lower ends here. Let me close this. I'm getting a lot of notifications. There we go. Yeah, so that's the whole thing of Bitcoin. That's my numbers. That's my areas. All right, going to Ethereum now. Now, I don't know if I want to go to this one because I think this is going to have a lot of lines. I think it's going to have a lot of lines, which it might get very messy. Let's just see. Okay, it's not too bad. It's not too bad, I guess. But you know what? If I saw the same thing on the dark mode, I think it would hurt more. So Ethereum. I haven't closed. I've muted this properly. Let me just close it properly. There we go. Okay, so same story we have with Bitcoin. We have the equilibrium. We are below it. We've used its resistance. What I said last time probably would have been we were in a downtrend. I think Ethereum's been a bit better. You can see it. We've definitely had these bigger retracements upwards. We've had obviously us on the way downwards here, where we've had these retracements. We had this previous range here, where we obviously come upwards to at least this area here. We had this previous resistance kind of uptick, the open of this up close before this down move. We had this as resistance one more time. Very similar to how we had with Bitcoin as well, to be fair, and then we came down. But Ethereum makes more sense. We've had these ranges. Oh, no. I'm looking at this area. I'm on the daily here. We had resistance there. This made sense. Now looking here, I don't know if it adds. You can see, yeah, here we go. I was confusing because I thought, why does this look so good and make as much sense? Was because I'm on daily. I thought I was on the 4 hour. But looking at the daily, Same story with Bitcoin. We've had this massive move downwards. We don't have retracement. Move down, no retracement. Continuing this move down right now anyway. But we're actually higher than our low right now on the daily, at 2,791. So going back to the 4 hour, or going down to the 4 I should say. Again, similar stories here. We have this kind of major move down, which doesn't print. This is a bit more smoother than Bitcoin. But to be fair, this is actually the low here. Actually, no, I lied. We have the low, we have the move upwards. It's fine. Same story here. High to low, move upwards. We have resistance here. This is obviously a gap here. We only print through this candle, so we can use only this candle's open and close. So drawing this across, you can see that's when we have most of the resistance. I'm going to draw it as a range actually instead, so you can see it a bit better. Drawing this across, we can see it's a bit better. We have this down move past that open, and then we can see it being used with all these highs here. And obviously eventually continuing back downwards, printing past this low. So eventually having that retracement, looking from, you know, the high to the low, coming back upwards one more time to find somewhere resistance. And this kind of made sense. We came up to here. What did we have in this? Well, we didn't really have much. We had maybe a rejection block. Not really. Kind of, technically. Other than that, we didn't really have any gaps. We had this previous gap, and we had the resistance formed from this gap. That's basically it. So we came up as high as that area, and then came down one more time. And we are now, as opposed to Bitcoin, actually, not below this low. We're kind of fighting a bit higher. But regardless, we have printed once more below the high of this last close, or last candle. Because you can see with here, we had this gap, we printed higher, we then kind of sat at this top end, we actually printed higher than it, but now we've come down. Again, we've come to resistance, and we are obviously in this downtrend, as we've talked about, from printing past that low, most recent high before massive down move, using these areas on the way downwards. Obviously, this one being printing past this low, coming upwards above the equilibrium. This is what matters. So the next thing to continue this down move is what we'd have to do is print past 2786. That's what we have to do. So we can see we have validity to do so. Again, you can see our move downwards is a lot faster, a lot more expansive, or the move down is faster. I mean, you can kind of tell. I mean, look, if we compare the move upwards, the length of time it took, the speed in which we went past it, or the speed in which we went upwards and went past resistances versus the speed in which we went down and went past potential supports. Obviously, we did have an area here. We kind of sat at this open once. We kind of tried to use somewhat of support. Obviously didn't. Again, we had this massive expansive candle downwards, which I'm sure if we looked on the 15-minute, we could see a bit more detail as to which we saw resistance at it. But again, the main thing being on the 4 hour, had a massive move downwards very, very fast. So we will also have a balanced range here for both of these candles here is what I will... I think we have this in Bitcoin as well. I didn't draw it out, but we have the same story here with Ethereum, where we have this resistance, kind of balanced price range, which is now going to be support and resistance, but in this case it'll be resistance, somewhere 2891, somewhere in this range, as resistance just a bit above us. Again, the main thing about this though is going to be printing past 2787 to continue the range downwards, which, you know, we could potentially do. What I'm interested to see though is what we did on the daily to cause us to stop going downwards. Well, we had these kind of two equal lows here. We've kind of wicked past them and started to maybe print higher, which is, you know, it would be a decent sign for Ethereum, especially if we printed past this these two candles here as well. Actually, if we printed past this this close and this open of these two candles, or we printed higher than it, that could actually be a good sign as to go up even higher towards 3150, whatever. Coming past both of these lows and not printing past them and printing higher than these, the open and this close of this candle, could mean a bit more positivity to then go and find more resistance on the daily time frame. That is, obviously on the 4 hour we have our resistances, we have our reasons to not go upwards, but as opposed to Bitcoin, again, Bitcoin's a lot lower down. Bitcoin's already coming past some major lows here. Relative to Bitcoin, I would probably say we've already seen, as to Bitcoin anyway, we've already seen the prints past some relatively higher lows here. I think the main low here, as opposed to Bitcoin, we are currently lower than this. If we go to Bitcoin, actually, I need to not go to this one because this is where the mess is. So yeah, you can see, as opposed to Ethereum, we're kind of still below that. Not too far below it, but we're still below that main low here. But then obviously going to Ethereum, we can see a bit more of a difference here where we're actually sitting a bit higher than some of these lows here, which is an interesting find for Ethereum. So if we can continue to do this, in theory, using these lows, I would like to see a print above both these lows and this these two open and close candles, or open and close for these candles at 2816. If we could do that, that could be a decent sign. Not a guarantee, but could be a decent sign that, okay, we haven't printed on major lows in that regard, and we would want to see it come towards 3,100, because again, I'm still looking at that for Bitcoin, even though we are very low right now, and probably will continue to go lower. Obviously, like I said, on the 4 hour, we do have our supports. We have some on the daily time frame, anyway, 79k, also 80k supports. So we do have supports, and I could expect it to go lower. I still want to see, just based on the range we have, it come up to a higher retracement. Bitcoin's case being about 91 or 90,500, at least, maybe 91k, 93k. Obviously, in Ethereum's case, still looking at that 3,100 area for this gap area, maybe 3,170. Still looking at that area for Ethereum, regardless of what we're doing right now. So, quickly going to the weekly, just see how it has transpired. Obviously, I think what we did on the dark mode theme is we looked at this gap here. 3043 to about 351 on the weekly. Obviously reversed this and used it as a bit of a resistance area here. If we draw that out, you can see quite nicely at that midpoint printed, and then obviously come down, and we've printed past some of these lows. Not quite this main low here, still kind of trying to fight at that area. Also this gray area, as we have with Bitcoin, I drew out the equilibrium, which you can see we kind of have been using decently nicely, but we are ultimately below this area. We do have I thought I drew out one of the lines, maybe I didn't. Oh yeah, I did actually. It was this one. So just drawing out one of the next steps downwards for what could be support. And I think I did this on the daily time frame. So it's about 2,700. So we have with Bitcoin. If I go to it quickly, where we have the one step downwards, which is about 80k, I'd say, just a bit past this low. Same we have with Ethereum here, which isn't quite past this low. It's probably a bit deeper. It is about 2,700. So as a general kind of rule of thumb as to, okay, cool, if we do end up printing past some of these lows and continuing downwards, I think the next stop could be about 2,700. But obviously, ultimately, waiting for that major retracement. If we were to see this, obviously this is obviously not happened, but if we had to this move, seeing for higher up here is ultimately what I'm looking for. I think as well, one last thing before we move to Solana is how Bitcoin had a very important weekly print. I think Ethereum's case doesn't quite have that. As you can see, one of the major gaps which we looked at quite a while ago when we were back up here as a major low was in this range at about 2,800, 2,700. You can see we're printing at this midpoint very nicely. We're nowhere near the bottom of this range to print lower than it and reverse it. You can see the one we did reverse, obviously this one we have seen resistance at, as you can see, but the main one we looked at all that time ago, which we are obviously at right now, or within the range of right now, at about 2,634 to 2,941. This range here, this one is obviously a lot more, we're a lot more higher up than the lower bit. We're still using it as quite a good support point. So I don't think the weekly print of Ethereum right now matters as much. I think it would matter though. Obviously, the main low we have of the weekly is obviously that one. You can clearly see this is the main low. This is kind of the most recent high, clearly. But we can see we do have some more extreme lows, kind of coming to about 2,779, which we've obviously whipped past it right now. We're kind of in between of right now. So we could potentially see somewhat of, if we do print past this, somewhat of a printing past old lows is never a good sign, even if it isn't the most extreme low. So that does still matter. It's not as much as Bitcoin. I think Bitcoin's weekly print is very, very crucial as to what we're doing right now. Again, looking at we're currently way below it. The minimum print above we have to do is about 86.5. So, if we aren't doing that, not a very good sign. It most likely means we could probably use this area again above towards 91k, 90,500 as resistance. Which obviously the daily, like I said, we already have resistance at 93 and 91k. We have 4-hour resistance, all the way up and down. So not a very good sign. But as opposed with Ethereum, we don't quite have that. So yeah, but it doesn't mean we can't go deeper into this gap at 2,640 and still find it as support. Just like how Bitcoin could continue to go downwards, it doesn't mean we're out the woodworks with all this. We're still in a major downtrend. It's still not a very, very bad sign. But again, with all we have on the weekly, Bitcoin and Ethereum currently right now are still positive, but I am expecting downwards as the numbers I've already talked about. 2,700. I've already talked about these numbers, so I can move on to Solana. I don't know if I've done much Solana TA since. Even on light mode, I don't really think I've done too much. So recalling what I've talked about, I did draw out the equilibrium range just to see kind of what we were doing and where we were. We've kind of been in between, especially at some of these levels, kind of printing up and down. The main one being this major support here. But again, I would look at different ranges on this equilibrium, but I don't want to bring the lines up because it gets way too messy. So we're still in this support area. If we compare what we have with Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana, I've talked about this plenty of times. Bitcoin and Ethereum are a lot higher up, as opposed to what we have on the weekly, and are at both of them are at gaps. But with Solana, we aren't really at that. We're kind of sitting at this range of support here with these candle bodies. You can see, obviously, we print past these lows here, and obviously use this as a way to go upwards, and you can see we print past it here, and then we come down one more time, use the top end of support. So this is a valid support area, and we are sitting quite high up on it. We have printed at this midpoint quite a few times now, but now trying to print past it, especially print past this low on the daily here. For this to be a big switch to a resistance area and to reverse it and use it as a resistance, like I said, we would have to print past some of the lows at about 105 or 106. We're not really there yet. We've got a lot to potentially use as support if we go to the weekly quickly. We don't really have much on the weekly. I've already talked about. Just like so, Bitcoin has obviously the support. If I quickly go to it at daily, I don't want to do daily. This is support 85 to 78. This is support. Ethereum does have support at this 2,500 area and 2,700 we've talked about, but relative to the weekly, it starts at about 2,600-ish. Solana doesn't really have that on the weekly. We're already at this deeper support point. We don't really have much else from there. We could reuse old gaps, but this is starting to get towards about the sub $100 mark, which isn't a very good sign. So Solana doesn't really have that next safety guard, as opposed to Bitcoin or Ethereum. So even though we're still high up in our support area, we're still at about 119, we're still in our valid area. And if we go to the daily and look at it on a bit more detail, we can obviously see some last down close candles. We can see the range of this candle. We can see we use it here. Look at the range of this candle. So we still have somewhat support lower than us where we are right now. If I draw this across. So you can see we're kind of sitting at that high point twice here, which all kind of overlaps what we have on the daily, like how we've done on Bitcoin numerous of times. We can go to lower time frames within a support point on the weekly, in this example, and look at daily supports and the confluence of the fact that, okay, we have support on the weekly, and we know we have support in this range. We're just looking at the daily to fine-tune it a bit more. So we can see with this one, as an example, we kind of print at that top end at 118. We printed that top end again, 118, and now we're coming towards that midpoint, so 113. So another point downwards, I could expect 113. We also have the low end of this equilibrium at 114. If we start to print past this low at 114, come to this area, maybe come to the bottom end, not a great sign to be using this. Ethereum's case, we are already below equilibrium. We're already probably going to be using it as continuously using it as resistance. Solana's case, we're still within it. We could still use the bottom end at 114 as support, which kind of coincides with the midpoint of this support at 113. So we could have somewhat support there. Again, if we can continue to this area and print, if we look at the 4 hour, this will just be us continuing this downtrend. And if we look at what we've had so far, we can see we are well above that equilibrium. We kind of had a difficulty at this area. Finally printed above that, obviously was a good sign. But relative to what we have on the 4 hour and our ranges, we can see move down gap usage of obviously using this gap. We have this major move downwards coming upwards. What do we really have in this area though is kind of the main thing, I think. Well, we have this up close, last up close before the down move, printing past the open of the candle, looking at the candle body. You can see we use it as resistance there, kind of missing it there, but more importantly we can see we have a move upwards with this general move upwards, last up close before the down move. We can see we use the same body here for a propulsion block, and we can see we use that on the way downwards. We can kind of continue to use this and see we have this kind of print away with this major candle here of kind of coming up into this. Actually, now that I'm looking at it, really, we can ignore all this. We can just see this massive up move and then this down close candle from it. And then this whole kind of range is just going to be resistance. all that to say, we have resistance. You can see we form it there. We then use that midpoint quite nicely there. We just kind of come to the low end of it, about 127. So just drawing across 127 as a major resistance area. From this previous one at about 130, we can see anywhere kind of printing past this, we can see we have difficulty at the open. We have difficulty at the open. Kind of come up one more time, past pretty much all these highs of us finding difficulty at the low end, and then eventually reverse. So that's kind of where our resistance was on Solana in terms of the retracement from the high to the low, coming back upwards, at least above equilibrium. That's where resistance was. Obviously, we had this area, and again, like I said, we can print through these areas and use them as supports, and we tried to. Same way we did with Bitcoin. I think we might have done it with Ethereum as well. Even though we're in a downtrend, we still tried to use it as support. We came to midpoint, tried to come upwards. Again, expansive candle downwards. We're still going to find resistance in this area, and obviously then continue downwards, coming below this gap once more. So we can still expect this to be resistance. We can see we haven't quite had that print. I think with Ethereum's case, we have printed past this low, and we have used it, and we have printed past the low, and have confirmed that we're continuing this downtrend for Solana, or for Ethereum. But in Solana's case, we haven't quite printed. Very soon, we're going to print in 12 minutes. We're probably, we might print through this low, and obviously could be continuing this trend. If we look at the range we have here, we can see wherever this low is about here, we have the entirety of this gap, which we could still continue to use as we've printed for it. We have this gap, which the top end of it, about 122, we're still in potential to use as well. So we do have resistance at 122 and continuing what we're doing here. We could obviously look at previous areas we've had on the way up and down. We've had this I don't know what this is. I should probably look at it. This is probably a daily gap if I'm... Yeah, okay, so we have a previous daily gap, which we've kind of not really used on the daily. You can kind of see on the 4-hour. We've not really used it, to be fair. We've kind of used it twice back here on the 4-hour, but obviously continuing a downtrend, we weren't expecting this to be holding line or anything. We then obviously came for it here. So it's not really much of an area, much of a strong area anymore. So I'm just going to ignore that, I guess. So looking at the most recent price action is going to be most important. So looking at that, we kind of have 122, I'd say, about $122 for Solana in terms of a high point. If we continue what we're doing right now, printing past this low, we're going to be continuing this downtrend pretty normally on the 4-hour. We've kind of seen that globally across the board with Bitcoin and Ethereum as well. With the daily case, we could also be printing past some major lows here as well, which is obviously not a great sign. I'm going to be across the board doing the same thing across the daily. It's going to be watching this retracement, finding wherever we find support. It's going to be, I'm still going to have my targets at 136. I'm still going to have my targets, Ethereum 3170, 3150, Bitcoin 91k, 93k, or maybe not 93k. We still have resistance at there, but it's more now towards the lower end, 90,500, 91k. We have resistance there. So we have plenty of resistance. I'm still going to be looking at it. I don't care if we've come down continuously. It's more of a, we have the high, we have the low. We'll start a reversal at wherever we find our support point and then go to these areas. And it's more of a, I'm not gambling on the idea, I'm not gambling, but I'm not banking on the idea that we're going to go up to these areas. It's more of a, if we do go up to these areas and start a reversal on the lower time frames and respect it as resistance, then it's a, okay, cool, we're in this downtrend, we're going to be going towards lower and lower, is kind of the idea. So I'm still holding on to that. So to wrap up Solana before we jump onto SERP, we have this support at 113, 114-ish. I do expect a retracement if we continue the print through on the daily and mainly the 4-hour. We have the 122 as resistance, but we are going to be continuing our downtrend, doing our thing. Eventually, we're going to reverse on the 4-hour, start an uptrend, and that could lead us when we hit our higher time frame point of interest, which could be 114. To be fair, it could be in this support area. I still want to see higher resistances before we go down again. That's really what I want to see. So wherever that starts is okay. Wherever that starts is fine. It's more about the fact that we do it. So yeah, that's my assumption. Now, before I go to some other areas, I do want to read the chat because I haven't done that yet. So starting with YouTube, let's see. The EQ at 80k is looking more likely. I'll jump back to. I assume that's obviously Bitcoin. Obviously, I'll jump back to it after. I'm not gonna look at Crow. I'll probably just do SERP and jump back to Bitcoin and look at some chat from there. 80k bring on. Yeah, I think what did I have? What line did I have? It was about 70, or one of the main low ones. I can't remember what line it was. I'll go back. I'll do SERP. I'll come back to that in a minute. Obviously, QR code on the screen. People on Binance Square, you guys already know, but obviously elsewhere, if you're on YouTube and you caught the stream and you haven't done so, please scan the code, have a little look. You know what I mean? 80k bottom, what's the bottom 76k? Yeah, I mean, this is like I was saying. The fact that we have this gap in support on the weekly on Bitcoin doesn't necessarily mean like we can go below this gap and find resistance at this major gap we have, printing below 86k, and it's still not mean we can't go up again. It's the print past the major low is what matters. If we have a weekly print past the main low at whatever price it was, I can't remember, I'll have a look at it in a minute. That's the bad. That's like the super. It's done. We're done. It's over. We print. It's not fully over though, because again, we can print past that major low, have a retracement, have a lower high, and then have absolute turmoil, and it's over. That's when it's over. So it's not over yet. Maybe it's cope. Maybe I'm coping, but it's not over. We had Naked Dancing Lazy. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? We're not doing that, okay? Especially not on certain platforms. Too much regulation. Maybe the gap between broke. Okay, yeah. Just getting insulted, getting heckled in the chat. Let me look at Binance Square. I'm seeing some. I see a lot of chats. Yeah, market's bad. Yeah. 80k bottom. Yeah, I can't remember what price I had. Sold 85 and 90. Yeah, and that's like, I mean, again, like I said, the extreme cases. If we do have that massive retracement, like I was talking about, we have that previous gap at like $95 Solana. Do I think we have a lot to go? We would have to have a lot to go through to get there. I don't think it's going to happen. But like I said, we do have some previous supports. But I mean, all we've talked about on last stream and this stream, it's just the I'm getting too emotional. I can't speak. All it matters. Okay. I'm spaghettiing. I can feel it. What we're talking about across the board, for me, it's just Jesus Christ. It's just the specifics of how we move down. Because even if we do go up to 91k on Bitcoin, all it is in my books is for us to have the lower high and go even lower. If we miss it and go down, it's us going lower. On the weekly, if we're printing it below 86, which we probably will do, it's just going to be us going lower. It could mean we go up to the 91k for the weekly gap. It just means we go lower. So across the board, whatever I'm talking about, it's us going lower. There's not a lot of what I've talked about in today's stream and last stream, which suggests to me that we have some magical coincidence which allows us to print past all of what we've done right now, print past the highs at 98k and start to go up to 130k. There's no scenario where we have that massive move upwards. All I'm talking about right now are the specifics, the fine print of how we go down. Whether we have that retracement to then go down lower on the daily time frame, whether we continue the downtrend on the 4 hour and just continue to go lower and lower, it's just specifics. That's my major kind of the words aren't coming out today. The major analysis across the board. That's it. Anyways, XRP details. I can have a look at XRP maybe. Like a really quick. I'm not co-hosting. I'm not giving you Bitcoin. Can you teach me? Nah. Go find someone else. I'm not. I just do the chart. You know what I mean? I get it wrong. I get it right. I'm not teaching. You know what I mean? We've got Ethereum go up or go down. I think ultimately, you know what? I'll just say ultimately, I think things continue to go downwards. Whether we go up and go down again, it's just specifics, like I said. Yeah, that's it really. Yeah, that's pretty much it. What about alt season? We've actually had, me and Mike have actually talked about this quite a bit actually, in terms of the introduction to ETFs and what that means for alt season, and the fact that they probably will never have a bigger alt season than that because of the amount of comparative between the value in ETFs versus retail, I suppose is the word, normal people, versus last time where there was actual alt seasons. There's not that sell-off. I mean, we obviously are selling off. We are being sold right now, Do we see altcoins pumping? I don't know, actually. I don't look at them. I just look at literally just all I look at is this. I don't really look at anything outside of these coins. I probably should look at other coins, but anyways, I've got. You know what? That's the chat. That is the chat done though. I've gone for it. Let's just go to syrup. I'm not even gonna bother looking crow. All right. I don't want to look at crow. Okay, so we do actually have a decent amount of price action, which we've already talked about. I will draw out my previous range, which is this one. What is this? Oh, on the daily. Oh, okay, we have something over there. See, this is the thing. On the light mode, I have price action. It's just a lot easier to look at. So we've come upwards. We've actually hit in resistance. Well, I think I said we'll come to about the midpoint, and then probably come back down again. Is that what I talked about? What did I talk about? Well, we printed past the low. Yeah, so this is actually a really good example of what I talked about, where even if we don't print past our major, even if we are printing past our major resistances, in this case resistance, it's not over. This is valid. Obviously not financial advice, because obviously I could be wrong, but it's what changes it. Obviously you can have change in state where you can print past the open of the candles, which is a precursor to what could be a potential move upwards. And obviously I could be wrong here. Obviously not financial advice. We did have pre-resistance in this gap as well, to be fair. But the real range was actually this range here, which was printing past that low. We didn't print past that high, we wicked past it. That's still okay. That's still okay, I think, personally. So I think we did fine with what I said with syrup last time. On the daily anyway, we're doing pretty much perfectly fine. We haven't printed past this low. We do have kind of this sort of low here, which we have printed past and come upwards. We've obviously printed past our last low, which was this major low. We then had a high up here. We then printed past it. We've wicked past this high, not printed past it, came into a resistance we've used multiple times already, and we're kind of having a down move candle right now. So, good. This is to be fair, if we draw it from this open, this is a support currently. Will it last the support? Potentially not. This is obviously a daily order block here. We can see we come past some of these equal lows. We print higher than these candles here. Looking at the open of this candle, we can see the wick lower than it. Anyway, I still am negative. I don't care. I'm still. It's just means to an end, or whatever the phrase is. It's literally just us continuing downwards. I still am on the 22. Let me draw out the. I think I have the whole range of this candle. And the midpoint. It's about 21.6. I'm still on this. I'm still banking on. That's my area. Okay. I'm still on I'm still on this midpoint area at 21.6. Actually, looking at the kind of body, I want to see where that goes. So that's about 22 as well. You can see we actually hit that high end here really, really tightly there. But I'm still on this midpoint at about 22 cents. That's still where I think for syrup. That's just what it is. And from there, it's higher. To say the least. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I don't really have much new to say about syrup. It's just continuing the downtrend. I mean, I wouldn't want to see it print past 36 cents, I suppose, is something to add, but I don't think we're really going to do that. I mean, I think on the daily, if we go candle by candle, if we can print past... if we can print past 34.3, this could be a decent sign to continue, because again, if we look at last down close versus last up close, we print through that open and then we continue to move upwards. There's a lot of times where we don't really do that in a lot of these green candles. Every green candle, we aren't changing our kind of pattern, or we're not changing our movement from continuation of a downtrend until we hit that last candle, where we then finally print past that high and then actually start to move upwards until proven otherwise. We go down. And then if we can print past this green candle, and then eventually just continue to go downwards. The main confirmation that we are continuing a downtrend would be obviously printing past 30 cents. That's just kind of what it is. But if we really look at what we have on the daily here, we're still in the scenario of starting this reversal. If we look at what we have from the high to the low, we have come above equilibrium into previous resistance, basically, is what all it really is. Weekly, we are still in this downtrend. I mean, I think regardless of what I've talked about, again, higher time frame is going to matter the most, and what we see is we have print past major low, we have a lower high, finding resistance, starting to come downwards. So either way, I still want it to come down, not only past 30 cents, but towards 23 cents. That's just what it is, okay? So I still expect that. I still think we're going to do that. we're just gonna have to wait for it. That's really what it is. I think with Maple, with me, obviously I have price action on Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana. We have our ups and downs and whatnot, but with Syrup, it's literally just a waiting game. You know, every time I've looked at Syrup on stream, it's been the same thing, and it will probably continue to be the same thing until we hit this area. You know, it's just what it is. So, anyways, I do want to quickly jump back to Bitcoin to see what I had. Which price it was. I can't remember what price it was. Yeah, there it was. Yeah, so we have obviously this price which is out right now, and then it was this price at about, some of you said 80k, for me it's 79,680-ish. So yeah, I just wanted to see what price that was. I couldn't remember what it was. But yeah, around about 80k. Could definitely see. Again, we are very close to be printing past these lows. If we continue to do so, it's just more and more negativity. You know, it's just us confirming negativity on the way downwards. Printing past these lows, great. This is a good sign. Whether this whole movement, maybe this is actually the bad low, to be fair. Maybe we've had this move upwards, and then we've had this move downwards. We've printed past the major low, and now eventually we're going to look at this move back upwards to 91.5. Maybe, you never know. But importantly, we're continuing this move downwards. If in all this we do print past this low, and if I ever see Bitcoin go anywhere near 91, I'm looking to short. That's it. Obviously, there's nuance to that. Again, if we have a move like this, if we've had this move downwards and we have an obvious move high and a low, and then we print higher, then we do a higher low. Obviously, there's a scenario where we don't do that. You know what I mean? There's a scenario where we don't retrace upwards and then go down again. If we actually start to reverse, but with the way we're going, I'm not positive right now. I'm really not positive. But again, that's the daily frame. Like I said with the weekly, we could go as low as 73. We can go as low as 73.6, not print past this low, and still have validity to go upwards, and it still be valid. The likely chance is it's getting close to not happening. But it's the same story with Crow. I mean, Crow's done the same thing. It's gone upwards, gone right back down to the very smidgen of the low, and then gone up again because we haven't done that print. We haven't done that print lower. And that's the moral of this story, is we can even wick past it and not print, and it still go upwards. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah. Anyways, yeah. 79,670. That's the price. Which is basically 80k. So yeah, I agree with you guys. On a daily longer term, absolutely. It's just eventually where are we going to see that low? And even if we do get to 80k, like I drew earlier on, but before we moved on from Bitcoin, that midpoint, we have this breaker block, we have the gaps. It's going to be within this previous gap, 91.5ish. It's going to be there. You know what I mean? And if we see that, and we've seen this massive move down, if we've seen this massive move downwards, and we see that retracement, you know what I mean? It's quite cut and dry. Not financial advice. Not financial advice. It's not cut and dry. It's not financial advice. Okay, but that's it. That's what I think. Okay, I'm obviously currently extracting from dark mode back to light mode. I feel like this isn't that bad. I think this grey background, it's not too bright. I don't think it's burning anyone's eyes. I'm happy with this. Okay, I feel happier. I've felt happier now at the end of the stream. I'm happier that I'm on light mode. Okay, so we'll see how it goes. Obviously not financial advice. There's plenty of times I get things wrong, plenty of times I get things right. It's just, you know, it's the market. Thank you so much for watching. I will be back on Saturday for another chart stream. We're not doing another quiz by next Wednesday. Maybe I might do something in the intermediary, because again, obviously on these streams I do YouTube and Binance, so maybe I'll do a test stream off schedule of my charts where we test to see if my bug fixes have gone successfully or not. But other than that, see you in Telegram, see you on the channel, see you in next stream. Have a great rest of your week until the weekend. That's pretty much it. I don't think I've got anything else to say. Thank you so much. See you next time. Goodbye.